What's going on, everybody? This is John Jake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, the greatest college game ever made. And we got a great episode for you guys here today. Week number 10 action here in the second season of the FCS Dynasty, and we got 8 games on tap once again that are going to be really exciting, and I hope you guys are ready for it. So if you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have to be brand new, as we are on the verge of 2K, and you could be that missing piece to get us over the top, man. So help a brother out as we jump into the first game of this episode. Dakota Woods. What else is different, man? Certified bad man, as Dakota Woods is going to take this thing to the crib. 61-yard touchdown that will give his team the lead against Nicholls State, as this game actually does carry a lot of implications, as whoever wins this game is going to be able to control their destiny within the SEC East Division, as we do end up seeing Frederick McNair, the custom true freshman at quarterback, get lit up like a Christmas tree, but he is an incredibly tough kid. As 3rd and 7, he's going to run the option once again. He's got some space to scoot here, and is going to take his Colonials across midfield, and that is a huge first down for the young quarterback McNair. We'll see if he can finish this drive off. 3rd and long. McNair dropping back, collapsing pocket, but it doesn't matter as he throws a dot right in the middle of the field, and Nicholls State is going to respond. And not only respond, but they might be able to take the lead here, depending on what they do on this particular possession, as McNair will drop back quickly, but it's going to be picked off by Tyrell Willis, the free safety, who gets his very first interception of the game. I just read him like a book, as Georgia Southern gonna try to cash in off the interception, as Dakota Woods gets it out to it, the tailback, and that is going to be in the end zone. Touchdown Eagles, and Georgia Southern reaffirms the lead, making it 14-7, as now McNair also trying to take it out on the perimeter. He responds as well, and we got a little bit of not custom to custom. Thought that was Deuce Randolph, but Fanine instead carrying the rock into the end zone. We got a really competitive game here early on, still all knotted up at 14 apiece here, as Georgia Southern also going to pile on the points here early in this first half, as it's now a 21-14 game. This is not even Minacci actually a little bit shaken up at the time being. But now Nicholls State, there's Deuce Randolph taking it down the sideline, space to scoot. He ends up eventually getting caught from behind, but Deuce Randolph getting a nice pitch from his fellow freshman quarterback. And it's a first down for the Colonials, as they look to tie this thing up here in the 3rd quarter. McNair faking up. No, he pitches it last second to Deuce Randolph, breaks the tackle. It is in the end zone. Touchdown Colonials. And it's all back to being knotted up at 21 apiece. We got ourselves a battle on our hands, and that will carry into the 4th quarter. Remember, who wins this game is going to go ahead and control their own destiny to make it to the SEC championship game. And Dakota Williams, knowing the moment, getting a huge play downfield, as Dakota Woods now has over 100 yards rushing on the day. And his boys are going to be in field goal position, but they're looking to end this drive on an exclamation point, as Woods got his guys in the red zone, looking to finish it here. Gets it out to the tailback, and it's going to be in. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. And the Eagles, 31-24. Georgia Southern taking the lead. And now you see Nicholls State, unfortunately, start to run out of gas, as in the fourth quarter, that's when Georgia Southern performs the best typically, and we see it here. Yet another touchdown here with 2.5 minutes left to play in this football game, and it just very well be barbecue chicken. As you can see, Georgia Southern, they just stonewalled that defensive line. And if we needed any more confirmation, next possession, free and out for the Colonials. They punt the football away, and it just is an easy punt return. No one's even ahead of this guy. And it's going to be a touchdown for Georgia Southern, as the Eagles, they were put to the test. Their resolve was tested. But Georgia Southern is going to come out here. They're going to come out on top, winning this game by a final score of 45-24. It was an impressive victory for Georgia Southern, but don't sleep on Nicholls State in the future. Guys like Frank McNair as well as Deuce Randolph, they are going to be a really fun combination to watch over the next few years. They are just not ready, at least just yet, to overtake Georgia Southern. But I am really interested to see how the direction of this program goes. I imagine it's only up from here. So we had a really exciting game, but we got more than just one game that has conference championship implications. We also go out to the Pacific Northwest as we see the number 3 ranked North Dakota State Bison take on the Wildcats of Weber State. Now, Weber State, they are fresh off of a really impressive victory against the Montana Grizzlies. They won 38-17. So the winner of this game, once again, also going to control their own destiny, except in the Pac-10 Conference, in order to go forth and get that automatic qualifier, which bigger game for Weber State than it is for North Dakota State, because, you know, at least for the Bison, if they lose this game, they can still get themselves into the FCS playoffs by that at-large bid. That's how they got in for year number 1. But Weber State is not ranked right now, so if the season ended today, Weber State would not be in the FCS playoffs. So that would be a shame given their strong start to the season. And this was not how they were planning on starting out. Down 7-0 early as Anderson stiffs arms one to the ground. Does not get away from a second, but a huge gain there for Ken Anderson, as AJ Ferguson does a good job delivering a really good pitch out to his tailback, as the Bison in position to make this a 2-score gain early. Laurent Montez ready to take the pitch, but it's not going to even be necessary though, as AJ Ferguson going to jog this thing into the end zone. Doesn't even get touched there, but you will get touched on the next touchdown drive for the North Dakota State Bison. 21-0 here ends up being the score going to the halftime locker room. We'll see if Weber State can go ahead and make some adjustments, or are we going to see the Bison run away with this? Wouldn't be any surprise. Number 3 team in America, we're seeing some of that right now, showing the dominance that is required to be a top 5 team in the nation. AJ Ferguson running off a huge play down the sideline there, and it sets up yet another red zone opportunity. Ferguson going to fake it to the tailback, gets it out to the freshman Laurent Montez, who gets it into the end zone. Touchdown Bison. The 4-star custom player Laurent Montez gonna get, I believe if I'm not mistaken, his first rushing touchdown of his collegiate career, doing it from that wide receiver position. Even though they are a run-heavy offense, they are going to find ways to get this very talented player involved in the offense. And we saw a little bit of that here today, the diversity of how they're going to get the ball to Laurent Montez, more than just using that passing game. And North Dakota State, they are going to go ahead. They are going to certainly go ahead and make a statement here, as North Dakota State dominates in what was a really critical matchup for the Pac-10 standings. The Bison winning this one by a final score of 42-7 over the Wildcats of Weber State. So here's the hoping that we go ahead and see some more competitive matchups here as we go ahead and jump into yet another conference game, except in the Big 12 Conference, the thumbnail game that you saw clicking onto this video. As Texas Southern, they are currently in a deadlock with Western Carolina and Southern in order to win division and go to the Big 12 Conference Championship game. But they can't overlook anybody, as we've seen in this series so far. I mean, St. Thomas, notably, when they beat UNLV, anybody can beat anybody on any given day. No one can just sleepwalk and just assume that they're going to win the game, right? It just doesn't happen here, at least this early in this series. Now, eventually, maybe we will see a little bit of talent diversity as Texas Southern is going to go ahead and run it into the end zone. Touchdown, Tigers, as Sean Demps is going to win the one-on-one matchup on the outside. And not only is going to pick it off, but he is going to go ahead and take this thing to the crib, finding out early why you don't mess with Texas. And speaking of not messing with Texas, how about this ground game getting going down the sideline? It's got some space to spook, and he's going to score! Touchdown, Texas Southern, 78 yards. And the Tigers off to a great start here in this SWAC battle. Make that 14-0 in favor of the Tigers. And now Alabama A&M, to make sure that this game does not get out of hand soon, they're going to need a spark on the offense. Can they get it from their return game? But instead, it's the exact opposite. A fumble recovered by the Tigers, and it's going to result in a field goal. But Texas Southern really starting to pull away here. 20-0 lead here, as Alabama A&M, and maybe a little bit of desperation, we're going to call a little bit of trickery, and it actually does end up working. Alabama A&M putting together a really good drive right here. Quarterback draw going to perfection, as the sea just is like the Red Sea parting in the Bible, because that was a easy run for the quarterback to do. So Alabama A&M, they do have a chance to get their first points of the game, and they get it to their tailback Slick, who is going to pile drive his feet forward, and Alabama A&M is going to find themselves on the board, down by a couple of possessions though. Can the Bulldogs finish strong here or in the first half, or is it going to completely switch the momentum, switching back over to Texas Southern? Don't mess with Texas. That's Texas Southern. They came to play today. 90-yard touchdown, and the Tigers extend their lead back to 20 points, making it 27-7 in halftime. And now we jump into second half of action here. Slick got some space around the quarter, but dude drops the hit stick, and it ends up being enough to jar the football loose. So Texas Southern, they will take over and get it to their tailback, who's going to stiff arm a defensive lineman. Get in that weight room, young blood. Making it 34-7 going into the fourth quarter. Adam Mayhew got some space to work, but he fumbles. Alabama A&M, they are going to go ahead and recover it. So maybe a little sliver of life here as we get into this final quarter of play. An opportunity to possibly actually make this game a little bit competitive. But Alabama A&M, they cannot get any points off of the turnover. So it remains 34-7 as Adam Mayhew is going to drop a really good pass over in the middle of the field. And that's the most surprising part. You know, Adam Mayhew is a competent quarterback, but they haven't really used him in the passing game. Less than 50 yards of passing offense. It's been all about this ground gain, and man, have they been pounding it on the ground. Yet another touchdown for the Texas Southern Tigers, and that is going to be more than enough to go ahead and put this thing away, as Texas Southern is going to go ahead. They will improve to 6-2 on the season. Another very quality season for the Texas Southern Tigers as they look to remain in the FCS playoff hunt, while Alabama A&M, they will no longer have the chance to go over 500. So we get some rivalry game action here now as we jump into the ACC conference, checking in on one of the best teams in the FCS right now, the New Hampshire Wildcats, number 2 in the country, but don't underestimate this Maine squad. They're coming off a nice win themselves at home. They beat a ranked South Carolina State squad that's going to help them out in conference play. But this New Hampshire team is a whole different animal. They're going to have to bring it up a notch if they want to win this game. And all of that is going to be on the hands of Flash Williams, the true freshman. He's got a big assignment. He's going to have to outperform Carlos Montoya. And how about this to start things out? Nice throw over to the tight end, who's able to get out of the shadow of their goal line. And now this Maine squad got some breathing room. Williams, he's going to unload this in the back of the end zone, and it ends up being caught. Touchdown, Black Bears, as they get ahead of their hated rivals, New Hampshire, and it will be a 7-0 lead early on in the ball game as Flash Williams, great job delivering this football. And now it's going to be Carlos Montoya's turn to go ahead and respond. Montoya tries to get it out to his receiver, but will be intercepted as Jamal Griffin with his first interception of the season. And what a heck of a time to deliver on that, as it sets up the Black Bears with beautiful field position. 3rd and goal. Williams facing pressure, but gets it over the middle. Touchdown, Maine. And Flash Williams delivers a second passing touchdown of the day. And maybe, just maybe here, guys, it might be more than just a flash in the pan, as they got a 2-touchdown lead over the number 2 team in America. Carlos Montoya thrown off balance a little bit, but there's a reason why. He had one of the most prolific seasons in the FCS last year. It was a huge boost for them that he came back for his senior year. And now we'll see Carlos Montoya go to work. 3rd and 16 at about the 30-yard line. It's the edge of field goal range. Montoya, plenty of time, throws it towards the end zone, but it's going to be overthrown. An interception again, this time by Mark Holman, who is going to pick him off in the end zone and just kneel it from there so that it would be considered a touchback. So New Hampshire still has not been able to score a single point. That is a huge surprise, but Tafiti drops the football. It's muffed, and Tatofi. Yeah, it's actually Tatofi, but y'all can go ahead and correct me in the comment section. Y'all already know, those of you that followed the channel for a little bit, I'm not good with names, but Carlos Montoya, he's good at throwing the football, though. I can tell you that much. That was a bad snap as well. Threw it up to one of his receivers, and now New Hampshire gets on the board. Couple of field goals later, New Hampshire right back in the game, only down by 1, but a compromising punt is going to make it an easy punt return for a touchdown for Totifi, and that is going to be a critical touchdown, because with the extra point, not only does New Hampshire gotta go ahead and get this touchdown, but they also gotta go for the 2-point conversion, which they might not even have to worry about, except that ball is going to be intercepted. I am really shocked, Flash Williams making the tackle, by the way, that they would pass the ball in that situation. You got the lead, you got the ball in your hands, and it's less than 3 minutes left. Just run the clock out, man. Like, it doesn't have to be rocket science. And the sad thing was, it was there, just couldn't get enough air under it, unfortunately. And now New Hampshire with a chance to tie this game and maybe get this game to overtime to get it to the tailback. and it's going to be in the end zone. Touchdown Wildcats. But it comes down to this 2-point conversion here coming up, as that was a beautiful juke move. Got a couple of defenders out of the way from that. But here we go. In order to tie this game, possibly send to overtime, they try to run it again. But Maine stands up. An incredible goal line stand. They'll be forced to go for the onside kick, which doesn't work out. And how about this for an extremely insane upset? Maine pulls off their second top 25 win in a row. They beat Charles Montoya and this New Hampshire squad, winning by a score of 21-19. And Maine, well in position all of a sudden to go to the ACC Conference Championship game. If you told me that week 2, I would have called you crazy. But now that is a true possibility. So I'm going to need some serious heart medicine after watching that game, because man, that was a game that went right to the wire. We'll see if this next game can live up to it, as this game, of course, also having implications here on national TV, as we got the number 25th ranked Southeast Missouri State Redhawks going on the road and taking on the defending champions of the Big Ten Conference. We got Tennessee Tech coming in with a solid record, 4-2, but not ranked in the top 25 yet. They can pull the win off against this Southeast Missouri squad, then they will do just that, get ranked in the top 25 for the first time this season. We'll see what happens in this ball game, as early on the Redhawks caught in a third down. They're one of the worst third down teams in the country, as Williams gonna go ahead, drop back to pass, facing some pressure though, and finds in quadruple coverage his favorite receiver. Look how many guys there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. I just got a big gain. Let's go, man. Took that to midfield too, as Williams feeling himself after the 4-time throw and gets it out to Lonnie Scott. 41-yard reception. And the Redhawks gonna find themselves in the red zone after 2 big throws from Gwen Williams. It's now 1st and goal from the 9-yard line. Dropping back to pass. Looking towards the end zone. Touchdown, Redhawks. That's how you do things on the first drive of the game. You get yourself a methodical touchdown drive, and you're going to take a 7-0 lead right away, as we'll go ahead and see what this Tennessee Tech squad has in store. And right now, Carlos Parker is going to be all over that 16th career sack already since starting this series. He's been a menace for the Redhawks, as Coach Dybergian loving how his defense is playing early on. As now, 1st and 10, Jones dropping back, looking towards the left-hand side. It's tipped. It is going to be picked. And not only is it going to be picked, it's going to be brought all the way back to the crib. Touchdown, Redhawks. That's Jason Bell with his 3rd career interception, making one of the biggest plays of the season for the Redhawks defense. Make that 14-0, as this is usually a pretty lively atmosphere down here in Cooksville, Tennessee. However, that being said, as of this moment, you could hear a squirrel fart. They need someone to get this home crowd back in the game, and this could be the one. Tennessee Tech going to recover the fumble, and the Golden Eagles are going to be back in business, baby. We'll see if they can capitalize, as now true freshman quarterback Chase Jones looking to throw this downfield. He wants a big play too, and he's gonna get it. 30+ yard throw, and now a goal line situation coming up for the Golden Eagles. And that was simply a go route. This tailback runs right by him. And now 1st and goal for the 9-yard line. Vincent Fortnite with the play action, and Chase Jones is going to be sacked in the backfield. He's been taking a lot of hits here to start this game. Already his 4th sack, as it leads to 2nd and goal for the 9-yard line. Jones facing pressure again. It's fumbled. Tight end did not recover it, just fall on it, big man. What are we doing? And it's going to be the second turnover by the Golden Eagles. A lost opportunity to really cut this lead in half, as it will still remain 14-0 as Jones looking to throw downfield yet again, but this time, instead of getting a long completion, it ends up being a long interception, almost like it was a nice big arm punt the way that ball was thrown, although pretty sure it wasn't third down, so I don't know what's going on, Chief, but Williams is going to go ahead, throw the football. He's going to fumble as well. And that is going to mean Tennessee Tech is going to recover it. Definitely seems like both teams got some of the Butterfinger action here, as we are going ahead and seeing a lot of turnovers by both teams here, especially since we started the second quarter. As speaking of turnovers, there's another one. So now both teams here have 3 turnovers on the game. Whoever stops turning the football over first is going to end up winning this game, I feel like, because Tennessee Tech has not really produced much on offense, and yet they're still not completely out of this game. As now we'll go ahead and jump into the second half. Jones throws it over to the receiver and makes another catch downfield. That is Sean Williamson, who now has over 100 yards on the day. We'll see if they go to him again. 4 catches. No, fullback instead, carrying the lumber, but even he can't hold the football. And now one of these linebackers for Southeast Missouri State gets yet another turnover, another fumble recovery, and the goose egg will remain for the Golden Eagles. Fast forward now to the fourth quarter, and we'll see this running game start to take over for the Red Hawks, as Scott Parrish, one of the better running backs in this Big Ten Conference, he'll get it into the end zone. It's a 21-0 game. And how about a quick dagger real quick? Williams down the field. It's caught inside the 5-yard line. Lonnie Scott strikes again. Now he will be struck with the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty here towards the end of his play. But it doesn't even matter, though, because they'll still score on this anyways, because Scott Parrish, what can I say? Certified bad man. Definitely a bad man during the fourth quarter. And Southeast Missouri State, no shot that they can blow this lead, as the Red Hawks are going to come out. They're going to win this game by a final score of 28-0. And we'll see how things shake out in the Big Ten Conference as the season does go ahead and continue to progress. However, that being said, though, we'll see what happens with the Red Hawks in terms of the at-large race, because they are still in the hunt for that in the event that they do not end up winning that Big Ten championship. Now, I did completely forget to get the team stats for both teams here, but these two teams were relatively closely matched. I was surprised that it ended up being the blowout that it was. As now we'll go back over to the ACC conference. We saw New Hampshire end up losing their very first game in conference play this season. Can James Madison go ahead and take advantage of that? Because right now they are now officially tied for first place. But North Carolina A&T, they are right on their heels, as the HBCU, they are not out of the running for winning the ACC Coastal Division. But they're going to have to find a way to contain Kenny Raymer, because one of the best quarterbacks in FCS college football right now, 2,500 yards, 28 touchdowns to go with it as well. He's a weapon of mass destruction, and we'll see if he can destroy this NCAA defense as we get into early in the first quarter. Raymer dropping back to pass. He's got the time, he's got the man, and he's got the 5-star custom recruit, Jody Gentry, in the end zone. Touchdown, James Madison. You cannot go one-on-one with this kid. That is a recipe for disaster, but there's just so many great weapons on this James Madison team. ever since that wake-up call in their loss to New Hampshire, they have really responded as they have been downright dominant as a football team, already with a 17-0 lead. Can they close out the first half strong, though? Raymer dropping back, gonna throw across his body on the run and finds Nick Crum again. The Crum bucket is open as it's the second receiving touchdown for the tight end, 24-0, as the Dukes are duking it out against the ACSA Aggies, and there's been no response as of yet. And speaking of the Aggies, they have to go free and out, and I did not realize that is the Jody Gentry show, as he is gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Dukes. Over 200 yards of total offense for Jody Gentry, as now his team has an absolutely dominating lead right now, 34-0, and maybe an opportunity to get it up to 41-0 now, as David Fourn is able to make the catch before going out of bounds there. He's having a good, quiet day as well. 5 catches, 80 yards. He's been that dude too. Is now first and goal from the 10-yard line. 2 attempts for the James Madison, both of which ending in points. But how about going free for free there, as I'm pretty sure that was also a James Madison custom recruit. Jody Gentry with touchdown number 3. So it's 41-0 now, and I'm showing special teams again. Just Gentry get his 4th touchdown. He gets the kick return, but this time, no! He puts the ball on the ground, and that is how NCAA is going to break the goose egg. It is still considered too little too late, though, as James Madison will still win this game rather convincingly. So this takes us to the game of the week here in game number 10, as we have the battle for the Mayor's Cup. Nothing like a rivalry game to go with the game of the week, and big implications for Conference USA West Division, as they are both trying to go ahead and keep up with the Green Wave of Tulane. And it's going to come down to this running game. Mike Fanine, pretty solid running back for the Rice Owls, as they do come into this game ranked in the top 10. We'll see who Lee Corso decides to pick here. No, actually going ahead and choosing the SMU Mustangs. We'll see if Lee Corso's prediction turns out to be true, as we'll go ahead and see the Mustang offense go to work and moving like a sports car early, because we got a huge throw downfield. There was not a lot of space on that sideline. First of all, I'm shocked that that quarterback was able to fit in that hole. Pause. But there was not a lot of space on the sideline for that receiver either. That was a really good defense by the DB. Just was an even better play by the receiver. So it ends up being a 7-3 lead early for the Mustangs, as they will get it into the end zone a second time here in this first quarter, and extends it to a 2-possession game early, as SMU, they came to play in terms of that battle for the Mayor's Cup. And that does end up being the ultimate difference that first quarter, because they cruised to win this game of the week, winning by a final score of 20-6, which will help SMU keep pace with the Tulane Green Wave in order to go to that conference championship. SMU, of course, a team that did end up going to the FCS playoffs here in year number 1, making it all the way to, I believe, the second round. But a good game for the SMU Mustangs, as they got Rice uncomfortable early, and it did end up being the ultimate difference in the game of the week. So we've seen some surprises here in gameplay, such as New Hampshire actually losing the game. But let's go ahead and see if we have some surprises in simulation, checking out the games that were not featured in this episode. Starting with the number 7 ranked team in college football, Eastern Michigan. They do end up beating Rhode Island 44-10 in non-conference play, as the Eagles, ever since losing to Sanford, they are now on a 6-game losing streak. Meanwhile, Rhode Island has not won since they pulled the upset on UMass. As for Ball State, though, they also managed to go ahead and take care of business as well. They beat Southern Illinois by a final score of 38-7. The Salukis now fall to 2-6, while the Ball State Cardinals still remain undefeated on the season. As for Akron, they will also have similar luck against Illinois State, as the Redbirds continue to struggle in this series, as they are now 0-8 for the second time in 2 seasons. Akron, meanwhile, improving to 6-1 thanks to a 59-7 victory. Kent State, however, had a little bit more trouble against the Sycamores of Indiana State, as they only pull a 2-touchdown win, 31-17 being the final score. Maybe the defending champs showing some cracks in the armor. As for Temple, they recently got back in the top 25 as they get back to business going on the road against the Omaha Mavericks. And Temple does win that game, although closer than expected, the Owls winning 31-17. San Diego State, meanwhile, should remain as the #1 team in college football, as they beat Southern Missouri State by a final score of 31-14. The Aztecs taking care of business throughout the course of this regular season. Buffalo, meanwhile, actually suffers their very first loss of the season as they lose on the road to Ohio, 35-23. The Bobcats are now back at 500, whereas Buffalo is going to take their very first loss here in season number 2. Utah State did not have the same problem, however, as they continue conference play, this time against Southern Utah, and Utah State looking good, winning 62-29 in this one. The Aggies improving to 7-1, while the Thunderbirds fall to 2-5. UNLV, meanwhile, almost actually got upsetted yet again as they barely eke out a victory against Northern Iowa. The Northern Iowa football team only lose by a field goal, final score being 24-21. Central Michigan, on the other hand, did not have that upset alert bell ringing as they take care of business against Western Illinois, final score being 41-7, and the Leatherbacks fall to 2-6. UCF also not worried about the upset alert bells going, as they went on the road to play against Hofstra and winning convincingly in this matchup, winning 48-16. The Golden Knights now with an incredible season, 8-1 overall. So we wrap up the Week 10 action here in this FCS Dynasty with a nationally televised game in the Big 12 Conference. We got the Alabama State Hornets taking on the Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions. And I don't know if this is something that came in with version number 9 or what, but Alabama State, man, they got some new helmets from the last time that we saw them back in year number 1. And you'll see them on the field pretty soon, but they look clean. I love those helmets, man. Those helmets are really nice, and maybe they'll actually play better because of it. I mean, for those of you that have been following this series for a while, you'll remember the time that Alabama State was ranked in the top 25, and they proceeded to lose by over 100 to New Mexico State, and it was kind of like a running joke for a little bit about why Alabama State was actually ranked in the top 25, but Alabama State having a decent year, man, 4-2. They actually look like a better football team. You love to see that. And we'll see if T.Y. Huntley can lead his team down the field, and the running back is going to do the rest as the Hornets are going to strike first here, taking a touchdown lead over this Pine Bluff squad. Oh my goodness. So the Hornets are going to sting the Golden Lions first here, taking that 7-0 lead. Doug Rose, their star tailback, still out with injury, so they're going to have to rely on Jarrell Patterson and Mohamed Sinai, who is going to expose this defense right back. And now it's all knotted up. Beautiful thrown ball, by the way, as that was not an easy hole to get it through. As now Patterson gets it out to the left-hand side, but it's going to be fumbled. Alabama State is going to recover. And that is a shame, too, because Jarrell Patterson, he was really starting to go ahead and find a rhythm there, as that is going to be his 4th consecutive completion. But now T.Y. Huntley and this Alabama State squad gets the football. The custom prospect looking to lead his team to the lead. Huntley rolling to his left. He's going to throw across his body. It finds a man in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Hornets. And Alabama State makes it 14-7 here. And how about trying to get a dagger in real quick before halftime? Huntley gets a man off him. Get off me, little boy. And whoa! Big time throw by T.Y. Huntley. He's a true freshman. He was just at prom 6 months ago. Look at this. Great footwork, great balance, and found an open man in the back of the end zone. Because of that, all of those traits, just incredible stuff from the true freshman. But Arkansas Pine Bluff, they are going to go ahead and fight back here as Muhammad Sinai, he is just going to strut his stuff and dance his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Golden Lions. And it's going to be back to just a one-possession game here. We'll see if Arkansas Pine Bluff could mount a comeback, but unfortunately, simply not meant to be, as Alabama State is going to hang on. They're going to win this game 21-14, and Arkansas Pine Bluff, definitely been a confusing year. I mean, they have this amazing record, but in gameplay, aside from the Week 2 game against Maine, they have not looked good in actual gameplay. And you know, if you're going to be successful in the FCS playoffs, should they actually make it there, that's what you're going to have to do. Be good at that. So that does mean that we are now 2/3 of the way through the regular season, and we are certainly on that home stretch right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the conference standings around the league and see what we're looking at in terms of late season races. And we got a really interesting one in the ACC. Now, got a 3-team race here in the Atlantic Division. Right now, South Carolina State, they are on top. They got a 5-2 conference record. However, both of their losses are against Maine and Delaware. Now, Delaware does have 3 losses, but keep an eye out on that Maine football team now. They're 4-2 in conference play, and we're seeing a scenario develop to where we could possibly see 4 teams from the ACC make it to the playoff in terms of the FCS playoffs. South Carolina State very close to being ranked in the top 25. Maine, meanwhile, if they win out, they will go to the conference championship game. And in the Coastal Division, even though James Madison is on top, New Hampshire does have the tiebreaker as well over James Madison. So if New Hampshire wins the rest of their conference games, they'll be in. And it's not ridiculous to think that if Maine can beat this team once, they could possibly do it twice, and that would really make sure that James Madison gets in guaranteed, and then South Carolina State, they might be able to get in as a at-large team depending on how the rest of the season unfolds. Now, as for the Big Ten Conference, as of right now, it looks like Tennessee State is going to run away with this conference this year, as they are currently undefeated right now. Now, they do have 2 more conference games, but they have a 2-game lead over Eastern Kentucky, and then Southeast Missouri State, Tennessee Tech, Jacksonville State. They all have decent records, but if Tennessee State, they win 1 more conference game, they will get the opportunity to play in the FCS playoffs as the representative of the Big Ten Conference as that conference champion. Moving on to the Big 12 North, how about Alabama State getting shown a little bit of love? They playing much better than they did back in season number 1, back in year 1. Remember, this team was ranked, but they did give up that 100-point game to New Mexico State. They was roasted quite a bit in the comment section in year 1, but now they're in the driver's seat with their win against Arkansas Pine Bluff. They're in a position to win the Big 12 North. They got a 1-game lead over Alcorn State, and they got a 1-game lead over Pine Bluff. They do have the tiebreaker there. Not sure about Alcorn State, but right now, Alabama State is in control. As for the Big 12 South Division, it's going to come down to, looks like 2 teams, although don't sleep on Southern. They have improved ever since an abysmal non-conference performance. Right now, Western Carolina and Texas Southern are tied for first place with a 4-1 conference record. And I do believe these two teams do meet up later in the season, so we'll definitely have to check that game out. Southern is not too far away. They're one game out as well, so they could play their way into a position where they can actually defend their Big 12 Conference Championship. The Big East is also starting to get pretty interesting as well. Brown is still kind of in the picture. They have a decent record at 2-2 in conference play, but got some new teams on the top. Yale and Penn are currently tied with that 4-1 conference record. But look at Princeton. Princeton went 0-11 last year. They did not win a single game. And here they are, 6-2, 3-1 conference record to go with it. They're in a actual position here to make the FCS playoffs after an 0-11 season last year. That would be the best turnaround that we've seen in this series. So right now, 3-team race in the Big East Conference. Because it does look like the Big East of this Ivy League is going to only get one team again this year because there still isn't anyone ranked. Quickly going over to Conference USA, over on the east side, UCF has the slight advantage for the time being, but Eastern Carolina, we see them play against UCF, and they were able to beat the Golden Knights. So Eastern Carolina, if they win out, they should win the East Division, but we will go ahead and monitor that as well. Meanwhile, over on the west side, SMU, I believe we saw them beat Tulane, so therefore SMU currently has the advantage. However, Tulane is still a half game out, so they could sneak into the conference championship game as well, should SMU lose one of their next two conference games here in Conference USA. As for the IA Independents, we see Temple is ranked in the top 25, ranked number 19 in the country. So we're currently sitting on the bubble to make it back into the FCS playoffs for the second time in this series. However, a team that is not yet ranked in the top 25 is UMass. They're 6-2 as of right now. They're currently on the outside looking in. I believe they are receiving votes, but it seems likely they'll have to win their next 3 games if they want to go to the FCS playoffs as an at-large team. Now, quickly going over to MAC Conference real quick right now. So Buffalo did lose their first conference game last week. They did lose to Ohio. That pulls them into a three-way tie with Kent State as well as Akron. Two teams that are ranked in the top 10 as of right now. Buffalo, we'll see what ends up shaking out in this division because each of these 3 teams still have 3 conference games to play. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. Over on the west side, however, we should have a really good matchup between Ball State and Eastern Michigan eventually, as these two teams are in the top 10. They are also undefeated in conference play. So the winner of this game between these two teams will likely represent the Western Division. Central Michigan, meanwhile, is 1 game out. They could play their way in, but they will certainly have some work to do if they want to go to the conference championship game. Mountain West, meanwhile, seems like it is pretty safe for San Diego State. They currently have a 6-0 conference record right now with 2 games left to play. They do have a 1.5 game lead over UNLV, who they did end up beating. So it does seem likely that unless San Diego State loses their next 2 games and UNLV does manage to win out, then we will see San Diego State get the automatic qualifier for the Mountain West Conference. Not that they need it as the number 1 team in college football right now. As for the Pac-10, this race is getting really interesting right now. We got 4 teams that are either 5-0 or 4-1. Right now, North Dakota State, they do control their own destiny right now. They are the only undefeated team left in this conference from a conference record perspective. Remember, North Dakota State did lose early in the year to Mid-Tennessee State, but 3 teams at 4-1. Weber State, 5-2 overall. Their only loss is to North Dakota State last week, but they can still play their way into a at-large bid for the FCS playoffs. Same thing can be said for Montana. Montana, not sure if they play North Dakota State at any point in this season, but they got to go up against their fellow rival, Montana State, who's been having a resurgent year in the conference. 5-3 overall, so probably will not get in as an at-large, but it isn't ridiculous to think that Montana State could sneak their way in as an automatic qualifier with that 4-1 conference record, but they will need to win out though. As for the SEC conference, as of right now, seems like Georgia Southern is looking pretty good in terms of defending their conference championship. They are a half game ahead of Texas State, who they will go ahead and face later on in the season. Nicholls State was in the picture, but it does make it a little bit more difficult for them to make it to the conference championship because we did just see them lose to Georgia Southern, and so those Eagles, they are going to have a tiebreaker over this team. But Nicholls State is improved from what they were able to do back in season number 1. As for the SEC West Division, Northwestern State looks like it is definitely in control right now. They are 4-0 in the conference right now, ranked in the top 25. And of course, they have built a 1.5 game lead over the second place team, Appalachian State, who comes in with a 3-2 conference record for the time being. Definitely the weaker of the two divisions as of right now. So Northwestern State, as long as they don't implode here in this final third of the season, we should see them again in the SEC Championship, and maybe we'll see a rematch between them and Georgia Southern for the Year 2 SEC title. Now going over the Sun Belt Conference real quick, the Sun Belt is the only conference to not have an automatic qualifier bid because there's no real FCS teams in there. But right now, Florida Atlantic controls their own destiny as they are currently undefeated in the conference. Their rival FIU is right behind them though with that 3-1 conference record. The Florida Atlantic, in the meantime, they are also currently, I believe, the only team here that's ranked in the top 25 within this conference. And finally, the last conference that I wanted to go ahead and talk about, which has been surprising, San Jose State. I'm surprised San Jose State has not been ranked in the top 25. They're 7-2 overall. I would think that would be good enough, but that is not the case. However, they do control their own destiny, 6-0 in conference play. Their next game is at New Mexico State. I believe this is a conference. I'm not sure if they have 7 or 8 conference games, but if San Jose State does win their next 2, they should get that automatic qualifying bid. Utah State looks to be pretty safe as well, even without the automatic. They're currently ranked number 11 in the country and 1.5 games behind. Same thing could be said for Idaho, who also has a 4-1 conference record, and they're sitting right on the bubble right now in terms of making it to the FCS playoffs for the second time in this series, although this time as an at-large bid. So we've certainly seen some shocking stuff in this episode. Maine, of course, being featured on the cover in a good way after that shocking win over the number 2 team in college football. So with that being said, we still have some great football in store. I mean, you've seen some of the conference races. It's heating up, and it's heating up significantly. So, outside of these nationally televised games that feature FCS squads or top 25 matchups, we're going to look for games that are going to specifically impact these conference championship races, because those of you that have been following this series for a while know that is the easiest way to get into the FCS playoffs. Win your conference, you're automatically in for the most part. So with that being said, I'm going to leave that for the next episode as conference races are heating up. In the meantime though, I hope you guys really did enjoy today's content, and if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button if you do happen to be brand new to the channel as well, as we are on the path to 2,000 subscribers. I would love for you to join me on that journey. So with that being said, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.